The bigger they are, the harder they fall, and this time we're talking really, really big. We're taking a quick peek at Monster Jam Steel Titans. I'm gonna be honest with you here and say I don't know a whole lot about monster trucks nor Monster Jam itself. I've caught a few shows while flipping through channels on TV over the years, but that's pretty much it. The most knowledge I have on the subject are the commercials featuring the classic monster truck voice. That's all about getting people excited to watch large vehicles drive around and crush stuff. So I can't really speak to how accurate Steel Titans is to the real deal. I can, however, tell you how it compares to other driving games. Developer Rainbow Studios was a pretty good pick for this game since they already have experience making racing games. Not only have they developed 2 titles for Disney's Cars franchise, but they've also been the driving force behind the MX vs. ATV series, so they're pretty used to how virtual vehicles drive through the virtual mud. There is, however, a bit of a difference between things like an ATV or dirt bikes and a massive monster truck. If there's anything I learned from playing a game like MotorStorm Pacific Rift back in the day, it's that these vehicles vary wildly for just about everything when it comes to racing. Steel Titans isn't quite a simulator, but also not quite an arcade game. It doesn't go crazy in-depth for building or customizing Monster Jam's metal behemoths, but players will have to get used to how the trucks drive, since it differs from other vehicles in other games. The biggest thing to wrap your head around is that both the front and back wheels turn individually, instead of just the front ones like on most vehicles. This makes it so that your truck tends to bend in the middle. This makes it more maneuverable, but also a bit more unwieldy, as it doesn't always react how you think it will. Trucks seem to turn a lot tighter than I originally assumed, and they can drift like crazy. This makes it a little bit easy to both understeer and oversteer when it comes to making turns, making it difficult to line up jumps on the fly, meaning it's very possible to tip your truck over. Luckily, there's a reset option that players can activate by holding the R key or just waiting 4 seconds after they fall over. If you want to get fancy, you can try using the side of your tires to spin around to get enough centrifugal force to turn you back upright. Although this doesn't work if you fully turtle yourself and none of your wheels are touching the ground. Honestly, I found these vehicles almost undrivable when I started playing until I went into the options menu and messed with the game's turn sensitivity. For some reason, it's set really low to something like 3 by default, and it was only after cranking the thing up to 11 that I really got the hang of driving. There are a few control options to pick from as well, such as being able to have manual turning for rear wheels if you want that, but I just found it to overcomplicate things and like to keep the basic driving controls alone. While Monster Jam Steel Titans advertises itself as some kind of open-world driving game, it really isn't. Is there an open world to drive around? Technically, yes, but it's really only used for practice and grabbing collectibles. Collectibles that don't do anything. There's no one to talk to, nothing like quests nor missions to complete, no opponents to deal with or anything at all. It's a real missed opportunity since there have been open-world racing or driving games before. The Driver series is one that quickly comes to mind, as well as something like Burnout Paradise and even Mud Runner. Games that always keep you in a vehicle but still give you stuff to do in a large, free-roaming space. Steel Titans does none of this. The main meat of the game is in its career mode, which has players go through multiple kinds of events in different locations to work their way up the Monster Jam ranks. There's 2 main kinds of events, really. You got racing, and you got tricks, with a few variations of each. Racing is mostly self-explanatory, with the main goal being to get to the finish line first, but there are a few ways to race. Long track races are nothing special and just doing laps around a track, while a waypoint race has participants go through specific glowing positions in a specific order, but you can get to them however you want since there's no overall track. Rhythm racing, on the other hand, has a very bumpy track and challenges racers to have discipline with their pedals. While flying through the air like a bird is cool and all, it's much slower than staying on the ground. After all, a vehicle's wheels can't do anything if they aren't in contact with any kind of surface. Going over ramps and bumps at just the right speeds to spend a minimum amount of time in the air, as well as landing on the downward slope of a hill, so you don't have to exert extra power to get over the crest of it, can be tricky to get used to. For the most part, though, these races were easy as pie for me to get through. Computer opponents tend to stick to a particular path through a race and don't really deviate from it all that often. This means it can be easy to cut them off on turns or just blast past them by getting up enough speed, as they never go any faster than that path allows. You can mess around with them a little bit by pushing them here and there, but no matter what you do to them, they always come back to the same path. It made me feel kinda cheap since I got through most of all the base racing events on the first try, but Steel Titan's AI came back with a vengeance for head-to-head racing. An arena or stadium series always starts with a head-to-head bracket event, where two trucks go against each other on a rather small track to see who can finish 3 laps the fastest. Losing one of these races kicks you out of the bracket, but overall placement in the event is based on completion time for each round. So even if you lose in round 1, you still may get ahead of other trucks that lost but did so slower than you. There are 2 main problems with these events, however. First of all, the tracks for them are tiny and compact. A few are little more than just a circle around a mound of dirt, but things can get complicated when jumps start being involved. You see, the game's AI is the same with head-to-head racing as any other racing and just follows a predetermined path around the track. While that means it's predictable where the truck will be and how fast it's going to be going, it also means the thing will never make a mistake. It'll never overshoot a turn, never go off track, and most importantly, never wipe out. All of these things can and will happen to you at some point due to the game's driving mechanics, and they're almost impossible to recover from. There's just not enough track in a head-to-head event to make up for lost time. Even if you drive perfectly, it can still be a close race where the AI just barely edges out a victory, which is incredibly frustrating. Early on in career mode, this isn't much of a problem, and I found myself able to get through these events with brand new trucks I'd yet to modify. But as the game went on and the AI got quicker, head-to-head races just became a complete annoyance, and I found myself constantly losing them no matter what I did. Good thing is, you can kinda cheat the AI right back. Pausing the game before an event is finished, then quitting the event will allow you to restart it from the career menu. So if you find yourself fully wiping out in a race and headed to a last place finish, there's still some hope. Getting anything but last place for arena and stadium tours in career mode is a must, since points are awarded to participants at the end of every event. There's 3 events per location, with multiple locations per tour, and whoever has the most points at the end is the winner for that season. The only way to progress from one tour season to the next is by placing in the top 3 of the previous one. Tours can last an annoyingly long time, and it just flat out sucks to sink half an hour or more into one season, only to end up coming in 4th place by a couple of points. So I really have no qualms about choosing the AI for head-to-head races if I absolutely have to. Trick events, on the other hand, are a whole different story. Trick events are broken up into 2 types: 2-wheel skills and freestyle. There's a combo meter during trick events that helps multiply the points you earn from performing different tricks to give you a higher score, which impacts the overall judges' score for the event. As the name suggests, 2-wheel skills is all about doing tricks that focus on using 2 wheels. Popping wheelies, going up on the front two tires of your truck for a stoppie, or driving only on two side wheels for a bicycle, or any tricks that involve just two wheels have to be part of a combo for it to count in this event. Contestants only get 2 combo attempts to get as many points as they can while including a 2-wheel trick. Failing a combo or completing one without a 2-wheel trick gives you a negative attempt, and if you don't manage to pull it off before attempts run out, you get nothing for the event, and that's never a good thing. Thankfully, 2-wheel skill events aren't timed, so you can take as long as you need to set something up, unlike with freestyle. Freestyle lets drivers do pretty much whatever they want within the arena or stadium given with a short period of time to rack up as many points as possible. Unlike 2-wheel skills, you can really do just about anything here in the hope that it'll count towards your combo. Most of the time I just ended up flailing about as much as I possibly could to get through these events, and it worked! Doing big jumps with all kinds of flips and spins and whatnot's all you really gotta do. The game's physics kinda help here since it tends to be a tad wacky, making the truck go all kinds of crazy from time to time. Annoyingly, Steel Titans is hit and miss when it comes to actually detecting the tricks you pull off, and sometimes won't count something that feels like it should. There's also been times where I've done some really cool looking stuff that didn't count for anything, and that's just disheartening. You don't get to see what other trucks do for these events and instead are only shown their overall score, so it can be hard to tell how somebody is racking up a whole bunch of points. But then again, I never had a problem with it. Completing events is not only good for progress, but also for earning money. Or Monster Jam triangles in this case. Whatever they're supposed to be, they can be exchanged for new trucks or truck upgrades. Upgrades are a very important thing to invest in, even though at first I didn't really notice that they were doing all that much. As long as you keep your truck upgraded as the difficulty increases throughout career mode, there won't be much of a difference between it and your opponents. It was only after trying some of the later events with an unupgraded truck that I really saw the differences with just how bad I was losing, regardless of how well I drove. There's no fine-tuning nor different parts to pick from that have positives or negatives. Nope. Nothing like that. Everything here is all positive, so even if you don't notice what they're doing, you can't really go wrong with picking them up. This does throw a bit more annoyance into the ring, though, as each truck has to be upgraded individually, even if it's the same truck. I do wonder if Rainbow Studios had access to the whole Monster Jam roster, since, while there are a good many trucks to drive, there's not as many unique options as I would think. You've got classics like Gravedigger you could take for a spin, as well as Whiplash and Great Clips Mohawk Warrior, which is just a needlessly and overcomplicated name for a truck. You can even just use a base truck without any fancy shtick to it if you want to, but there's no way to customize them aesthetically. Instead, each version of a design is considered its own vehicle. You want to drive Gravedigger or Gravedigger the Legend? How about Max D or Max D Black? You could even pick from 3 different flavors of El Toro Loco. I mean, really, it's the same truck, just in 3 different colors. There have been tons of unique trucks throughout Monster Jam's history, but even limiting down options to currently active trucks, there's still a lot to pick from. You've got Raising Cane, Iron Outlaw, Big Kahuna, Wonder Woman, or even Gas Monkey Garage. But nah, how about 2 versions of Soldier Fortune, with one of them just being black? That's it. It's just black. There's no other difference. At least when it comes to the Monster Mutt trucks, each one is a different kind of dog, so they have their own unique look. But none of these other truck versions should really be their own thing in my opinion. They don't do enough to change the base design, and are really just kinda pointless. Overall, Monster Jam Steel Titans is a very okay game that does a decent job at what it sets out to do, but really feels kinda basic. Doing the same events over and over and over and over and over again during a season quickly gets tiring, and there are many times when I went to a new location during one that I really hoped it would just be the last location, the last event, and for it to finally be over! Something you may have noticed throughout the footage I recorded of the game is an ever-changing frame rate. For some reason, the game struggles to run smoothly for arena and stadium events, even though it's fine with anything taking place in the outside world. It may have to do with the amount of spectators that are crammed into the stands around the course, but it's difficult to say if that's really the case, since they are rather limited in both detail and animation. You'd think if the game was going to have any issues with frame rate, it would have them in larger spaces opposed to smaller enclosed ones. The worst part is that the fluctuating frame rate can really mess with your driving. For some reason, I found myself gravitating towards Northern Nightmare for a majority of my time with the game, representing my fellow Maple Leaf Northerners. Mainly due to the fact that it's more difficult than it should be to get enough triangles to buy a new truck, especially if you're upgrading the ones you have. Sure, you can go back and redo previous seasons to earn more triangles, but I don't really want to do that with how long they take to get through. The biggest hurdle to get over for this game is just getting used to how vehicles drive. Once you get that down, it's all about trying to get one over on the dang cheap AI in head-to-head races when it comes to the game's difficulty. It really feels like the developers completely missed the mark for an open-world game with Steel Titans, but it still ends up being a decent racing game and one of the better Monster Jam games I've played, though admittedly, I haven't played that many. As a driving game, there are better options out there, but few of them let you behind the wheel of these massive monster trucks. So if that's something you're interested in, then perhaps Steel Titans is worth looking into. Otherwise, you may want to give this one a pass. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think of the game or this video in the comments section. I've been MegapieMan, and I'll talk to you guys later. In the mood for more destruction? Check out my review of Destruction Derby, the version for MS-DOS of all things. Or take on a legion of demons with me in Sigil, John Romero's unofficially official 5th episode to Doom.